The Paul Leslie Interviews.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is our great pleasure to welcome one of the renowned percussionists in the world, Mr. Emil Richards. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Paul.
I think most stories are best for the beginning. How did the music begin for you?
Well, I was 6 years old, and my brother wanted an accordion. And my father, he was 3 years older than I was, and my father took him to the store to buy an accordion and made the mistake of taking me with him. And naturally, I wanted something too. And he's signing the papers for the accordion, and I'm pulling on his pant leg. I said, I want something too, Pa, I want something. He said, don't bother me, I'm busy here. I kept pulling on his leg, and he said, what do you want? So when he said that, I just pointed to the first thing I saw. Was the biggest thing in the store was a xylophone. I said, I want that. So he got 6 months free lessons with an xylophone with no legs that fit between two chairs, and 6 months free lessons. So that's how I started.
Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, my family are Italian, or were Italian. They're gone now, but they were not musical. My grandfather was a flute player in Sicily, and when he came to America, he still played flute for the family, but he didn't play professionally. He was the only musical one in the family. So,
what is your birth name?
My birth name is Raddochia.
Raddochia.
Yeah, Emilio Raddochia.
Even your name has a music to it.
Of course, any Italian name does.
So tell me about the first time you went into a recording studio.
Oh gosh, that was really young. I think I was about 8 or 9, and my brother was 3 years older than I was. And we lived in Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, and there was a show, something like the Major Bowles Hour, where they took kids in, and we performed. I can't remember. I've got that record somewhere. It was a waltz, I think, we played, and he played accordion and I played xylophone. We played on the air. That was the first recording studio I ever went to.
You've recorded with so many different artists, legends.
Yes. To date, I've counted maybe 750 different artists that I've performed with, mostly on records, but also live. And well, I worked quite a bit with Sinatra, and George Shearing was one of the musicians I played with a lot, and Frank Zappa, George Harrison, a lot. We became really dear friends. Just on and on. Lucky life.
Tell us about George Shearing. What was he like to work with?
He was great. I was with the quintet for 3 years. We traveled. I was living in New York at the time. We traveled from New York to L.A. back and forth at least 6 times a year. For the 3 years I worked with him, we was mostly the U.S. We never went out of the country with George, but we traveled all across country, playing the big cities maybe 5 or 6 weeks at a time, and all little one-nighters with colleges, and mostly colleges all the way across country, back and forth. We worked 51 weeks a year with George.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us about the first time you met Frank Sinatra.
It was in the recording studio. We were recording, and I had just moved to L.A. in 1959 and started recording right away with Frank and everybody, actually. There weren't that many good mallet players, vibe players in L.A. at the time, and records were really hot. We recorded with everybody. In those days, none of the groups played their own music. We played all of the music for the Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, the Everly Brothers, on and on. I mean, none of those groups ever played their own music. We were a group called the Wrecking Crew, a bunch of guys from LA that went in and did everybody's recordings in those days, from 59, gosh, all through the 60s. I was averaging 19 record dates a week. It was really busy with records out here. That's what was happening, just a lot of records.
The recordings that you made with Frank Sinatra, can you tell us about some of the songs that you played on?
Just anything that went on from 59 on, I was with Frank on just about everything. And Frank didn't waste time. When he went in, he'd do a one take, and the engineer would say, Frank, I'd like to get another one. And Frank would say, did you get it? Is it on tape? Yeah, we got it, but I could sure stand next. It's post time. I got to get out of here. Next. Let's just go on. He didn't like to mess around doing too many takes on recordings. He was, and you know, through the years, I've realized that you can be in the studio forever with a lot of artists. They just wanted to go over and over and over. After the first time, the musicians are bored. And I think Frank knew that. The first take is always the best. You could have a little bit of an error or a mistake, but you're not going to get that feeling that you get on the first take. The musicians are up for it. Everything is exciting. After that, the musicians are bored, and Frank knew that, I think, because he always went for the first take. I mean, if there were a little bit of a mistake in the orchestration or something, he didn't care. It was that feeling that he was after. And he's right. Through recording all those years, I realized that the musicians become bored after the first take, going over and over and over. I think the music suffers after a while.
Yeah, you're saying it's best to have a bit of an alive feeling, the feeling of it being live in the recording studio.
Absolutely, and that a bit of tension makes for a better recording, I think.
When you look at all of the legendary names that you've recorded and performed with, is it possible to pick an artist that you felt was the most consummate musician?
I'd say Frank.
Wow.
I'd say Sinatra, because he knew music. I mean, he knew what he wanted. He knew, I don't know, he was the guy. He was definitely the guy when it came to records. He knew how to record. He knew the dispositions of the musicians. He just had it all. You know, I mean, Perry Como, Dean Martin, on and on, the people I've recorded with. Frank took command. There was something about his charisma that was lightning. It was great all the time, every time.
Our special guest is percussionist Emil Richards. I think this is very interesting. The jazz combo that you performed with Sinatra around the world.
Yes.
Touring. Tell us about that experience. What was that like?
That was wonderful. There were 6 musicians, some of the top guys that were recording in Hollywood in those days. He picked 6 of us, and we went around the world with him. And he founded hospitals in every country that we went to. He founded children's hospitals. He raised enough money to start construction on children's hospitals all over the world. Even in Israel at that time, whatever was the Israeli-Arab border is where he founded a hospital. We were there 10 days, and we went up and down the country of Israel and founded hospitals everywhere there. Jack Kennedy was president at that time, and he asked Frank to do it under the auspices of the State Department, and Frank said, I've got my own plane. I'll take care of this. I'll pay for this. And Jack Kennedy said, well, then I'll have the ambassadors from every country meet you so you don't have to worry about going through customs and all of that stuff. So we had the pleasure of the ambassadors getting us in and out of the country without any hassle, and the rest Frank took care of. It was just a great tour, and the music was great. Frank was very conscientious about our having to set up and get to each place and set up the music and all. He was always very kind to the musicians. He knew our problems and took that always into consideration. It was just great. It was one of the best tours I ever did.
This tour, the fact that it helped people, it helped found the hospital in Israel for Jewish and Arab children. Do you think a lot of people aren't aware of the things that Frank Sinatra did to help people?
I don't think they are aware. He took care of so many people. Bela Lugosi, just so many people that he came to the front and took care of their hospital bills, and nobody talked about that. He would tell everyone, just please don't say anything. I'm doing this for you. He helped a lot of people that were not aware of all the good he did for people. It was in his style. He just wanted to help people and respected people for who they were and what they were, and he didn't want any credit for any of that.
I had the opportunity to watch this filmed concert performances of Robert Davi in concert. And
Yes.
You're playing vibraphone. The first song that I watched was Pennies from Heaven. Tell us about meeting Robert Davi. How did you meet him?
Gosh, I don't even remember. All I know is the first time I met him, we became fast friends. And I don't even remember what that was. It's been about 3 or 4 years that I've been connected with Robert Davi, and we just became fast friends. I don't remember the first time. I'd have to stop and think of all that, but he's great. He's a great guy. We've got along from the very beginning. He's a talented guy. He studied opera as a kid, and he does the American Songbook better than most people do out there.
You mentioned you got along with him right away. What is it about him that made him so simpatico to you?
I think our Italian heritage. We're both Italian, and his people came from Sicily, and my mom came from Sicily, and I think that's part of the rapport. The musical talent is another part of the rapport. He's just a warm guy, and easy to like, and easy to know, and easy to be around.
He's passionate, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Were you surprised the first time you heard his voice?
Yes, I was. I only knew him as a gangster in the movies. When I heard him sing, I was very surprised.
Do you feel like there's kind of a sensitivity about him that a lot of people wouldn't realize?
Yes, definitely. I think he's going to be one of the most well-known singers of this era when he gets more exposure out there. Everybody just knows him as an actor, or most people know him as an actor, but they're very surprised when they hear his singing. It's wonderful. I mean, he's got real operatic background as far as his learning is concerned in the way of music, and it shows. It really shows in his performance.
Is there a song that you most enjoy performing live with Robert Davi?
I like them all. He keeps coming up with new stuff. He doesn't want to bore the musicians, or he likes learning new things all the time. So every time we perform, he's got at least 1 or 2 new songs to put in his repertoire. It's really great.
What is coming up in the future for you, Emil?
Well, I just got back from Tokyo this week. I did my Army hitch in Tokyo. I was in an Army band in the 50s. I've been back a few times. I was there with Sinatra. I was there on my honeymoon after the Army bit. But I just went back to work at a jazz club for a week in Tokyo. and that was wonderful. I'm just back like 3 or 4 days. I don't like to go out too much because I'm still not that active, but I'm still active in the film recording studios. I just finished a picture this week. As soon as I got back, I missed one day of this movie, Zoo. Oh gosh, it's an animated film for Disney that we just worked on.
Ah.
The composer Michael Giacchino, who's really a great composer. I've been doing all his work. I don't know what the future holds. I have a quartet, jazz quartet that I play with around town, and a 17-piece big band that's playing also around town. So I don't know. We took a quartet to Tokyo, and that was a pleasant surprise. I'm in my 80s. I don't know about traveling all that much, but I do enjoy it, especially with Robert. I like going out with Robert Davi. But that's not that often with him, although he should be busy enough to be working all the time. He's still active as an actor, so he's got 2 careers. So,
what is the best thing about being Emil Richards?
Music. I'm just so happy about music. It's my life. I mean, 83 years old and I'm still performing. I think it helps keep you young. So I had a great music teacher, a theorist that I studied with for a lot of years, and he used to say, I'll be a musician till I die, and I'll keep learning about music until I die. And I like that, and I've taken that as my mantra. You can never know enough about a subject, I think, and especially about music. So that's something that I keep listening to, learning about, and performing.
This is an open-ended question. What would you say to anyone who's listening, wherever they're listening from?
I just wish they had the love of what they do in their life as I do. I'll be a student till I die. I want to keep learning as much as I can about my subject, and I just hope that people can find something that they really enjoy working with, so that they never tire of doing it or wish they had to quit or retire. It's not about money, it's not about anything, but yeah, you got to have a little bit of money to live, but the love of music is something that just keeps me going. I don't know. I'm fortunate to have that as my career, and I just want to keep playing as long as I can.
My last question. Who is Emil Richards?
A guy I'm trying to figure out. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with my grandchildren. I'm just happy with everything that goes on in my existence. And as long as I can be around, I want to be involved with music. I think that's the mantra, music, for me. It helps me enjoy my family more, my friends, and appreciate life.
Mr. Richards, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Well, thank you for asking me.
Have a wonderful day. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Godspeed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.